So going into the game, there was obviously the exceptional circumstances that the nation was mourning the tragic loss of Liverpool in the Champions League against Napoli, and you could see that the players and the crowd were still living through the trauma of having to watch Trent and Joe Gomez trudge back half-heartedly towards their own goal as Napoli kept putting the ball into the back of the net. But the players, to their credit, did manage to get out onto the pitch in these exceptional circumstances. But what were the underlying issues behind Manchester United's loss in this game? But before I go any further, a quick reminder from today's sponsor, OneFootball, that every Saturday, if you are in the UK or Ireland, you can watch one live Italian Serie A game every Saturday on the OneFootball app. Last week it was Napoli against Lazio, which was one of the best games I've watched all season, and this Saturday it's AC Milan versus Sampdoria from 7:45, and you can also use the OneFootball app to watch highlights from leagues such as La Liga, the Italian Serie A and the Brazilian Serie A, as well as getting match stats from pretty much every league in Europe. So if you do want to help support the channel, then download the OneFootball app. I'll leave a link in the description below. So throughout the first half especially, Real Sociedad were able to nullify United's ball progression by man-to-man pressing quite high up the pitch in what you could call a 4-4-2 diamond shape, with Kubo and Sadiq pressing the two Manchester United centre-backs, Maguire and Lindelof, being ready to apply pressure immediately if they received the ball from De Gea, with David Silva pushing on to Casemiro, and Mika Marino, Brais Mendes and Zubimendi behind him would complete the diamond shape, essentially cutting off all United's passing lanes into central areas, and forcing them out to the two fullbacks, Malacia and Dalot, which is a very astute pressing tactic as it makes United's build-up play quite predictable, and when the ball is moved out to one of these fullbacks, because they are on the flanks, it becomes easy for Real Sociedad to squeeze across, close off the options, and a significant amount of the time United were either forced backwards or forced long from these positions. The two wide midfielders in that Real Sociedad diamond, Brais Mendes from the right and Mika Moreno from the left, would move out to apply pressure to Dalot and Malacia, trying to cut off the passing lane into the players on their inside. And this is why Sociedad were very good at stopping Eriksen, dictating the play from deep and getting on the ball, because in those central areas the passing lanes into him just weren't open. And it's under this type of press where I think United really need a ball playing keeper, and we saw the benefits of this from Real Sociedad's point of view, as their 4-4-2 diamond shape would become a 2-3-3-2 kind of shape, and United would press them in their usual narrow 4-2-3-1, with Fred pushing up onto Zubimendi in that deep single pivot, and Elanga and Antony retaining high and narrow positions either side of him, ready to press the centre-backs if they received the ball. Now United weren't pressing extremely aggressively in Real Sociedad's build-up phase, as we saw them do against Arsenal and Leicester, but what Ronaldo would do is when the pass would go over to one of the centre-backs, that is when he would initiate the press, moving over to cut off the passing lane across the goal and therefore forcing Sociedad over to one side. And the reason for this is that it essentially cuts down the pitch into a half. Just think about it logically, if the player can't go back across goal, he can only go over to his outside, making his playing space more horizontally compact, therefore making his passing options quite predictable and making it easier for United to press. However, the reason Real Sociedad were able to play through United's high pressure largely stemmed from their goalkeeper. So when United would pressurise them, because Antony and Elanga, the two wide attackers, were positioned quite narrow and quite high, ready to press the centre-backs, this would leave the full-backs open. And because higher up the pitch, Sadiq and Kubo would drift between the centre-backs and the full-backs, Dalot and Malacia couldn't really push further forward to squeeze the space that the Real Sociedad full-backs had, and therefore, because Romero is a fantastic ball-playing keeper, he was able to use his long passing range to just clip a ball over Antony or Elanga, into Munoz or Gorosabal, who could then carry the ball forward into the middle third, and now Real Sociedad had played through United's high pressure, and now United were forced to drop off into their narrow 4-2-3-1 defensive shape. Now even in the middle third, Real Sociedad did an excellent job of stopping United progressing the ball into the final third. They continued to sit in their 4-4-2 diamond shape, remaining incredibly horizontally and vertically compact, with the backline squeezing up the pitch, compressing the space between the lines, and with four players sitting in central areas and the backline high up the pitch, United struggled to work the ball in between the lines like they usually do, especially when United were moving the ball slowly, allowing Sociedad to get back into their defensive shape. Now we did once again see Ten Hag use a staggered central midfield, with Casemiro being the deepest ball winner in the midfield. Eriksen was given the freedom to float in behind the Sociedad midfield or move in front to receive the ball, but in the number 10 position in the first half, instead of Bruno Fernandes, it was Fred who was positioned between the lines. And I think this was a major reason why United struggled to create much of substance in the first half. I thought Fred and Elanga were particularly poor with their end product in the final third. Elanga seemed to have the beating of Gorosabal, the Sociedad right back, getting past him on a number of occasions. However, when he got into a good position, his end product just wasn't there. He'd either pick the wrong option, delay the pass too long, or put the wrong amount of weight on the pass. But Fred was even worse in the final third. There was a number of times where he received the ball around the box and he had the opportunity to turn and look for a direct pass on goal. Instead, he would often play the wrong pass going backwards, and it would kill the pace of United's attack, allowing Sociedad to get back into their defensive shape. And really in the first half, it was only Christian Eriksen who was creating anything of substance. There was one opportunity after a turnover where Casemiro moved the ball onto Eriksen, exploiting the space in the stretched Real Sociedad midfield, and Eriksen was able to see Cristiano Ronaldo's run at the far post, and he almost put in a perfect ball, but it just went over Ronaldo's head. But there was another time where he played a fantastic reverse pass from the left side into Ronaldo, who just couldn't get the ball out of his feet into a shooting position before Pacheco came across to clear the ball. Ten Hag did bring on Bruno Fernandes and Lisandro Martinez, which dramatically improved United. Martinez just coming into that United backline improved the overall defence dramatically. Now United did look a bit better in the second half, able to retain possession a bit more, but I think this did coincide with Real Sociedad's press dropping off and being less aggressive in United's build-up phase. They weren't so intent on pushing the wide central midfielders out to the fullbacks to close down that space, and so United could work the ball out of the defensive third through Malacia and Dalot a lot easier. Instead of pressing in that diamond system that we saw them do in the first half, Sociedad instead moved to a traditional 4-4-2 setup, which is why there was more space for the two United fullbacks on the flanks, and United were able to sustain possession in the middle third a lot more. However, the issue was that now with Christian Eriksen off of the pitch, it was now up to Fred and Casemiro to progress the ball from those deeper areas, and I did think both were very poor in this game, but especially Fred, who looked completely off the pace when he was playing in the attacking midfield role between the lines, not really having the fluidity when he receives the ball, taking too long to get the ball out of his feet, not picking the right passing option, not being direct enough, and you could see the comparable difference between Fred and Bruno Fernandes in that role when Fernandes did come on in the second half, as he just looks for a forward pass a lot more often. He's more willing to look for that riskier killer pass than Fred, who often takes the easy option, and that's what you need in the attacking third. Players like Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, who not only have the quality to pull off this pass, but even to see the pass and have the confidence that they can actually find that player who's making that run. And even though United did have more creativity with Fernandes now in the final third, with Fred pushed back alongside Casemiro, United lacked the ability to even move the ball in behind the Real Sociedad midfield. So a lot of United's possession and attacks came in front of the Real Sociedad midfield line. And as I explained in my analysis videos of the Leicester, Arsenal and even Liverpool games as well, when you do move the ball vertically at pace after a transition, you're able to exploit your opposition's stretched midfield. However, if you move the ball slowly like United were doing in the second half with Casemiro and Fred at the base of that midfield, it allows the opposition to get back into a defensive shape, get behind the ball and close up those spaces that you'd ideally like to exploit. I think this game really highlighted United's lack of quality and depth. United are far too reliant on Christian Eriksen to be that ball progressor from the deep positions in midfield, and when he's not there, United look like a completely different side. Lisandro Martinez seems imperative to that back line, and when he's not in there, United just look like the back line of old, with Maguire and Lindelof still being unsure in literally every defensive action they perform. I thought Casemiro was quite poor on the ball in this game. Maybe it's just a lack of game time as he's only played around 50 minutes in the Premier League, but that is something to maybe be concerned about. Antony from the right side wasn't really in the game, and I would like to see him try to beat his man in a one-on-one. It seems like he's a bit hesitant to really run at his fullback, and to be fair to Anthony Elanga on the other side, certainly in the first half he brought this directness that no one really else in the United side did. The issue comes when he gets into a good position in the box, he just doesn't have the quality to create anything of substance. I think it would have been interesting to see how Donny van de Beek would have done in that Bruno Fernandes role, as he's a much better fit for that position than Fred. However, he didn't feature in this game, and the lack of creativity from that position as well as the lack of runners ahead of him really affected Ronaldo's game. See, him and Marcus Rashford are different type of centre forwards. I think in Ten Hag's 4-2-3-1, Ronaldo's going to be playing the role more of a deep line forward than Marcus Rashford, and so in order to compensate for the lack of running in behind that Rashford would provide, I do think United need one of the wingers to play more as an inside forward rather than a natural winger, making those diagonal runs into central positions ahead of Ronaldo's movement. Ronaldo did show his aerial ability in the box, having a goal ruled out for offside, but without the creativity behind him, his game really lacks, and you can really see the deficiencies in his game at 37. And whilst people are criticising Ronaldo individually, I definitely didn't think he was the main issue. The main issue was the lack of ball progression that came when Eriksen came off the pitch, and a lack of advanced creativity without Fernandes in the side. I think Alex Romero, the Real Sociedad goalkeeper, highlighted David De Gea's ball playing deficiencies, showing how having a keeper who can play those clipped long passes over a press can really change how a side is able to build out through the opposition's aggressive press, and United weren't able to do this. And so especially in the first half when Real Sociedad pressed quite aggressively in that diamond system, United's attack would break down before they even reached the middle third. If David De Gea had the ball playing ability of Alex Romero, United could have been playing those balls out to Dalot and Malacia, not only beating the Real Sociedad frontline press but then progressing the ball into the middle third, allowing them to sustain attacks. The awarding of the penalty was one of the worst decisions you'll see all season, and definitely shouldn't have been a penalty, but United didn't do enough to actually win the game. And when you don't create much of substance or put the ball in the back of the net yourself, you always leave yourself open to this kind of decision costing you the game. So let me know what you thought of the game in the comment section below, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell, as I have got some interesting Manchester United videos coming out in the next few days, and you can check the description for some of my other videos as well.